Drag performers are being targeted. South of the border and here, we have protests at drag events, death threats targeting artists. These folks are under attack. They're one of the scapegoats being used by our opposition to try to sow division. The opportunity and incredible component, though, is that drag is culture, drag is art, and drag artists reach across the political spectrum. They reach those moms and dads, they reach those families. And so the reason we really wanted to do this campaign is because we knew that drag artists wanted an opportunity to use their platform. And as a queer advocate, I knew that we needed that platform to tap more people into our movement.
We're about a month out from the federal election. So what's the goal of Drag the Vote between now and Election Day?
The goal really is to engage and mobilize our communities as well as educate the public. We see hate rising. We see drag artists, queer and trans communities under attack by cynical and power-hungry politicians, by anti-LGBTQ groups. And so we're responding with a positive, uplifting campaign powered by over 200 drag artists across the country, helping make sure that queer and trans people, allies, advocates, parents, and families are showing up and voting for politicians who will uphold equality, freedom, and human rights for queer folks and for everybody.
What voter turnout or voter confidence gaps does Queer Momentum see, especially among trans and non-binary communities?
I think a big part of it is just helping folks understand why this election is critical. It is happening as we see, President Donald Trump south of the border undertaking this existential assault on the existence of trans and queer people. And so a lot of it is education, but also equipping folks with all the tools they need to vote. So the folks are aware of the, advanced polling days, aware of mail-in ballot options. And also, trans people do face barriers when it comes to voting. So making sure that folks are taking the steps ahead of time so that they can clear those barriers and get out to that voting booth on Election Day.
What would you say is missing from traditional get out the vote efforts?
I think the power of this campaign is that it's by and for community. So many people show up at drag events, they go to a drag story hour, and that's not just queer and trans people, that's moms and dads, that's families. And so it is bringing that message into spaces that, a traditional campaign might not reach, and having fun while doing it. That's, I think, my favorite piece, is the campaign is exciting, it's energizing. Who doesn't love being bullied by a drag queen into voting for a candidate who will uphold your rights? That's just a good time.
So what does a Drag the Vote event look like? I saw there were some last Sunday. Will there be more coming up, especially in Ottawa?
So we had a national day of action last Sunday, 30 events across the country, where community members came together and they handed out a flyer in their local neighborhoods. That flyer was a letter from a parent of a trans kid sharing a bit about their story, what their family has gone through, and inviting people to elect politicians to think about families like theirs when they go into the voting booth. We're going to have ongoing days of action. Our next big one is April 13th. But we also have Drag the Vote shows being planned as we speak. There will definitely be one in Ottawa. I have not confirmed the time, date, or location yet, but we're going to make it happen, and it's going to be complemented by other events all across Canada.
So that event you mentioned, it's going to have performance. Will there also be voting guides, legal info? What sort of things can attendees expect?
It's a drag show, so there'll be a party and a good time, but in between the numbers, we'll have folks go up on stage to just speak about the climate that we're in, the importance of voting. We're also going to be inviting local candidates from all parties to show up and to build relationships, to have conversations. And I think that is a critical opportunity for candidates to engage directly with queer and trans people and our families.
What would you say makes Ottawa a key stop for Drag the Vote? Is there anything you see as unique about the community here?
Here, just like everywhere, a lot of folks are scared and worried. A lot of folks are, struggling to pay their bills and all of the other things that are affecting the world. But I think it's important in this election that we show the power of our communities. I've been in Ottawa since I was 11 years old, and I know that Ottawa is a welcoming, inclusive city at its heart. But the way that we maintain that is by having conversations, changing hearts and minds, and coming together in a message of unity to uphold that freedom that matters so much to folks across the political spectrum.
You mentioned that getting folks out to vote this year feels more urgent, perhaps, than in previous years. Could you talk a little bit more about why pressure is higher, about what's happening south of the border and how you're seeing that?
So, for the first time in my adult life, we have two governments in Saskatchewan and Alberta that are restricting the freedom, rights, and healthcare access of trans kids and their families. We had New Brunswick do the same before their premier was booted out of office. We have some politicians on the federal level who are, using this anti-2SLGI+ rhetoric to divide Canadians at a time where unity matters so much. We are facing, an existential threat from our American pals down south. And part of upholding our sovereignty is actually speaking up for what we as Canadians believe in. That is freedom, that is equality, that is human rights. But as we see what's going down south of the border, we can't pretend that it's not happening here too. There are organizations out there that want us to roll back on the rights, freedom, and ability to live of queer and trans Canadians. And so this is our chance to speak up, to make our voices heard, and to show whoever forms government next that homophobia and transphobia is politically poisonous, and we will organize to halt any regression on the rights, freedom, and equality of our communities.